Tate and the objective matter at hand when it comes to this issue with his recent arrest, and not only that, his release on top of it. So, did it ever occur to some people that perhaps maybe Andrew Tate is guilty? Now, obviously, I truly believe every man deserves a fair trial and to present the evidence that shows whether this person is guilty or not. However, sometimes there's an aspect of where there is smoke, there is fire. And you got to ask yourself, why is it that this guy is constantly being hounded by different government agencies from around the world? It's not just the Romanians that are after Andrew Tate. It's not just the English that are after Andrew Tate. Well, okay, I guess we can boil it down to two agencies or two governments. For one, the Romanians are after him for whatever reason they have. But then on top of that, now the English are after him only for him to be released. And I don't know what the implications are of that particular release, but they released him nonetheless, right? So I gotta tell you, before I really start cooking into the whole Andrew Tate situation, I gotta tell you, I saw a Netflix movie earlier today, right? Or actually last night. And it was titled The Shot Caller. So I gotta tell you some interesting parallels to this movie in terms of the subject that we're talking about, because obviously I don't ever just talk about things without any context behind them. I'm going to give you a reason as to why I'm talking about them, but also give you a relation to the subject matter at hand. So Shot Caller is about this Los Angeles white guy who was an accountant, I believe. He had some sort of corporate job, and one day he got into a car crash. His friend died, and as a result, he was charged with manslaughter of a certain kind, right? And when he was in jail, of course, for those of you that don't understand the California jail system, a lot of it is really racially implicated. So in other words, if you get locked up, you're going to have to go ride with the people who are on your particular skin color or what have you. The best way to really put it in the most non-politically correct terms. So in other words, this guy was locked up with the Peckerwoods, right? AKA neo-Nazis. Okay, that's the best way to really put it. So as a result of that, he got into some gang violence inside of jail, which, by the way, led his sentence to where it was going to be only 16 months and only to be put in there for 10 whole years. And then after those 10 years, he was locked up. I'm talking about the Shot Caller movie, by the way, that I saw on Netflix, and how this relates to this particular topic at hand. If you guys are wondering why I'm rambling about random things, it's not. It's actually about a certain specific aspect of this subject that we are discussing, right? So he gets locked up for 10 years, gets out, because, by the way, the reason why he got locked up for 10 years instead of 16 months was because obviously he had to commit some gang violence in there, right? So as a result, this is what happened. He serves 10 years, he gets out, and after he got out, he had to go run guns for the Aryan Brotherhood of California. So because of that, he gets locked up. And after he gets locked up, then he gets life, because guess what? He had to go, how do I say this? The best way to really put it is handle business as a result of his post-incarceration. He had to do things for this gang. So the moral of the story, after he gets life, after what was supposed to be just a 16-month bid, then turns into a 10-year sentence. Then after he serves 10 years, he gets locked up because he gets caught up in gun running charges, because one of his gang members, one of the neo-Nazis in a group, was a former soldier in the U.S. military, and then he went on to smuggle guns that they stole from the Taliban and only to be sold to the essays of California out here in, yeah, that's basically the story of the shot caller. So I urge you guys to take a look at it. Which, by the way, the moral of this whole entire story is this. Sometimes some people get caught up in certain crimes and then become more than what they had expected to be in terms of becoming an animal, right? And in other words, obviously it was just a 16-month bid turned into a 10-year bid after he went and got into some riot and hurt somebody and stabbed somebody, and then he gets out. He had to go kill a snitch, and after killing that snitch, then he gets caught up in gun running charges, and as a result of it, then he ultimately gets life in prison for the most unfortunate circumstances. So that is a shot caller in a nutshell. So how does this relate to Andrew Tate and his current arrest? Well, here's something that I got to say about that, right? I don't think Andrew Tate intended to stay in the webcam business for as long as he did. And by the way, the fact that he has Islamic conversion, I think really changed the whole entire game in terms of having a cognitive dissonance. In other words, he had this aspect of trying to become a better Muslim after Andrew Tate's conversion, but then he also has to live this life where he owns casinos, he runs webcam businesses, and he runs businesses that may really imply prostitution to a certain degree. So I think that this is the problem that Andrew Tate has going on. Aside from the fact that a lot of fans of his and a lot of his supporters, diehard supporters, mind you, they have a hard time believing that this man actually went out and did this. Now, why do they have a hard time believing that? Well, for the simple fact that Andrew Tate is a symbol of male, I'm not going to say male perfection, but male improvement. That is the best way to describe Andrew Tate in terms of how a lot of people view him. And in fact, I think Andrew Tate has inspired a lot of people to become better men and to become a whole lot more of themselves, right? What does this guy say in the comment section? Pee pee poo poo. Yeah, so I don't understand. Why did you even comment that? OMG CUM. What kind of name is that? But anyways, here, look at this bozo over here, right? Usually it's always the guys that don't have a profile pic or don't have anything going on that always have something to say when it comes to somebody going on a live or going on a chat or this and that. But anyways, loser, whatever you are or whoever you are, you're not important and you make dumb comments and I'm going to scold you for it. And that's the bottom line about it. You freaking loser, OG, OMG, cum, or whatever your stupid name is. But anyways, let's get back to the topic at hand. I think that a lot of people really have a hard time believing that Andrew Tate did this. However, here's some nuances that I think people really have to understand, because unlike other channels, what they're going to do is push a certain narrative. So if you're in the red pill community, which by the way, I don't have any problem with them at all. I happen to find a lot of their, he said, yo, relax. Haha. You know what? Relax is not entertaining, right? So I can be relaxed. I'm a very relaxed person. By the way, if you don't know, I wake up with 32 BPM heart rate when I wake up every morning, a resting heart rate, which means, guess what? I'm an elite athlete, that in and of itself. But anyways, so a lot of people don't want to believe that Andrew Tate did this. But the nuances about this whole situation, the best way to put it, is that Andrew Tate is also trying to improve himself. While also trying to prove himself, he's also trying to get away from this life that he once had, where he was running casinos, which most of you may not know. You're right, LOL. Yeah, that's right. You don't want to say anything now because I scolded you in front of everybody. So do what you do and listen, and you may learn something. You understand? OMG CUM. What kind of name is that? Anyways, chill out, he said. It's all good, man. I'm chill. But again, I'm giving you guys some entertaining content here while also trying to teach you at the same time. So don't forget to like and subscribe. So anyways, Andrew Tate has a situation going on where he's trying to improve his life, but also trying to, I guess, cultivate whatever it is that he had started. Because for those of you that don't know, if you're a Muslim, you can't own casinos. You damn sure can't own webcam businesses or anything like that. You can't do any of these degenerate things. However, it's made Andrew Tate really wealthy. It's also made him very powerful, but at the same time, he now is a Muslim, and he has to somehow mitigate through that process of becoming the best Muslim that he can be, but also becoming a better man, getting away from this life. And how is he supposed to do that? How is he supposed to do this if he is surrounded by his brother, who, by the way, yes, he is a Christian, not a Muslim, but you also got to understand that the difference between Muslims and Christians is that there are just certain things that we are not allowed to do. Whereas with Christians, and I'm not saying that this is part of Christianity, but Christians in terms of the practice that they do, they're a little bit more liberal with, let's say, all right, you know what? I can own a casino. Whereas with Muslims, they're not going to do that because it's a degenerate lifestyle. You can still be a Christian and say that, you know what? I'm going to own a webcam business and then repent to the Lord Sunday. But with a Muslim, you can't do that because guess what? You can't own a webcam business while trying to pray 5 times a day in the way that Andrew Tate does. So therefore, honestly, it's not conducive to the Islamic lifestyle that Andrew Tate has going on. So with that in mind, here's something that I really want to tell you guys, right? What if he actually did do it, but at the same time, he's actually trying to be a good guy while trying to get away from this life? And by the way, after his release, he obviously did an emergency meeting. And what's really interesting about these emergency meetings, what I do kind of like about it is that he gives you this sense of urgency. Yeah, we're going to do an emergency meeting. You know, he would wake up his brother in the middle of the morning in Romania and say something to the effect, yeah, we're going to have an emergency meeting. And then they end up being in an office somewhere or in one of their little club rooms in their mansion, and their meeting is nothing more than just, hey, smoking cigars or just bantering on or just having a conversation and this and that, just hanging out. That's literally the quintessential idea of Andrew Tate and his so-called emergency meeting. But this one was a little bit different. Obviously, it was a real emergency meeting because guess what? He actually wanted to talk about his release. So he got arrested and then got released, and he said he's basically telling his fans why he is innocent. He's saying that they are coming after me because of the Matrix, because, oh, these people are saying that I'm saying things about the Vatican or saying things about children being hurt or John Cena or the whole LGBT rainbow agenda that's going on in the Oscars and the ritual humiliation of men wearing dresses. Guess what, Andrew Tate? You're not the only one that talks about that. Okay, Sean Strickland obviously talks about that. Guys like me talk about that. But you don't see any of us getting any federal investigations on us. Well, okay. That remains to be for another podcast. Maybe somewhere down the line, I could open up a Patreon or maybe a membership type of situation when my page gets big enough so that I can talk about, well, how do I say this? The nefarious side of things, if you know what I mean. But anyways, so Andrew Tate, yes, does he have a nefarious side to him? 100%. Okay, but the bottom line is if you are a fan of his, stop denying the fact that there are reasons why these governments want to investigate him. There's plausible reasons. And you know what? Here's the thing, right? Is Romania a corrupt country? 100%. It's corrupt. Even Andrew Tate has admitted himself that he thinks that this country is corrupt. But guess what? He says that it's the type of corruption that you can buy. Whereas with England, it's not the type of corruption that, let's say, you can just buy into, right? Maybe you can. Maybe if you know a few people in the parliament and you have $1 billion and you got an operation going on and this and that, maybe you can do something with that. By the way, speaking of Netflix, because I gave you guys a Netflix recommendation earlier in the stream, I'm also going to give you another Netflix recommendation that sort of correlates to the crime underworld of England, and that is The Gentleman, which is a series on Netflix, by the way, directed by none other than world famous British filmmaker Guy Ritchie. Now, why is that important? Because in this particular series, The Gentleman, let me give you a little synopsis on the story of this matter at hand. Number one, it's about these two rich kids whose father was a duke, so they're basically aristocrats. The younger brother, by the way, is a British soldier who also served with the UN forces, the UN peacekeeping forces. He had to go back to England from his post because, let's say, he had to take care of some family matters at hand. His dad was dying, and his dad died. And instead of the older brother, who, by the way, is a cokehead and a drug head on top of that, got into it with some Liverpool and London gangsters, now the inheritance went to the younger brother, who was the soldier and the UN peacekeeping soldier, right? So they gave him that, and then he's immersed now into this underworld of aristocrats, lords, what do you call it? Parliament members and the British royal lineage of some sort, right? Now he's immersed into all this world based on that. So, in other words, what I'm trying to say is that in regards to Andrew Tate, it is a lot harder to pay off corruption in England, as it would be a lot easier in Romania. All you got to do is just have money. But in England, it's not just about having money. It's also about, let's say, having connections, having aristocratic connections, to really put it bluntly. Because that's literally the synopsis of the movie, an aristocrat getting into the underworld of Great Britain. And by the way, that movie or that TV series is called The Gentleman. So those are the two Netflix recommendations that I have for you guys. Number one, The Shot Caller, 2017. And then the other one is The Gentleman, which is recent, 2024. I urge you guys to take a look at both to sort of get an understanding of this whole entire scenario that we are talking about with Andrew Tate. So, with that in mind, I gotta ask you guys, do you guys think that Andrew Tate is guilty? Write on the comment section below if you think one way or the other. Here's what I will say, and this is the most plausible reason behind it, okay? I gotta tell you guys, I really don't think that the Romanians or the British are interested in Andrew Tate because of his message. Now, does he have a very powerful message in terms of, well, how do I say this? Being, man, this is hard for me to say, okay? Because it's kind of politically incorrect, but I'll just say it right now. Andrew Tate is a lot more dangerous than Osama bin Laden. And why do I say that? Well, for one, he has the influence of the Taliban, right? He influences the Taliban in a certain degree. And why? How and why is he able to influence the Taliban? Well, quite frankly, I don't know. But I will say that the Taliban knows who he is. And the fact that he is a Muslim, I think, gives them more reason to support him or like him, or perhaps maybe even try to give him dawah to a certain extent. Maybe try to teach him about Islam. But on the other side of that, guess what Andrew Tate is also known for? He's also known for having a right-wing following. For those of you that don't know anything about Andrew Tate, this guy right here was friends with none other than Tommy Robinson. For those of you that don't know who Tommy Robinson is, he is the leader of the English Defense League. Okay, and why is that significant? The English Defense League was considered a right-wing organization, even though they will vehemently deny the fact that they are right-wing. In fact, they consider themselves a whole lot more liberal than what people are led to believe. But in reality, they're just a liberal organization that, quite frankly, doesn't like Muslims. They have black members in their squad. But at the same time, when Tommy Robinson was in the EDL, he got kicked out by neo-Nazis that were in his group. So he basically got ran out of his own party, out of his own group, and out of his own gang by people that really thought the EDL was a racist organization, and it manifested into the reality of EDL actually becoming a racist organization as a result. So now Tommy gets kicked out of the EDL, still does his anti-Islamic rhetoric, joins Pegida, which is a European right-wing organization, an anti-Islamic group, with the likes of Geert Wilders, the Dutch politician who also hates Muslims, and Marine Le Pen, who was a French presidential candidate. So he's affiliated with all those people. So the fact that Andrew Tate grew up with Tommy Robinson once again gives him a right-wing following in England and America, which in turn really makes him dangerous. Makes him dangerous in a way of his influence. But with that in mind, is he guilty of what he has going on in terms of trafficking and all these other allegations of rape? Here's the situation about it. I'm really adamant in telling you guys that every person has the right to a fair trial, okay? And Andrew Tate included. However, sometimes where there is smoke, there is fire. And I'm led to believe that a lot of these situations can be plausible. Are you telling me that Andrew Tate is not capable of rape? Are you telling me that Andrew Tate is not capable of hurting other women or this and that? I don't know, man. That I don't know. But again, I wouldn't put it past them. And all I'm trying to say is you got to keep an open mind, because you really don't know. Now, for those that think they know, I think it's important to understand that you're very limited in what you know or what you understand. And let me tell you why. Even if you knew who Andrew Tate was on a personal level where you can call him on the phone, you still don't know more than the next guy, because he has operations going on that you may not know of, or something that he may keep in secret. But in reality, for all we know, he could actually be really innocent, and we're just here mumbling on a whole bunch of nonsense that we don't know. And this is why I'm giving you guys this type of conversation. I don't know if the brother is guilty or not. And the fact that he is a Muslim, now that he's a Muslim convert, I gotta tell you that, well, I'm threading very carefully in how I speak about him, because as Muslims, we're not allowed to speak ill of each other unless, of course, there is plausible reasons of accusations to put on the table. And again, a lot of these accusations are quite serious. They are quite serious. So we can't just toss it up to, well, because he has all these conspiracies and he's talking about, men being in dresses or this and that. That's not a reason for a government to go after you. It's really not. Especially not in Romania, not in the United Kingdom, and not in the United States. It's not that kind of business. Okay, what they are looking for are dangerous people, and if there's any plausible reasons for them to go after these people to any degree. But the reality is, you don't know what is real or what is fake. All you can do is just take a look at what is plausible and what is possible, but also look at the evidence that is given in front of you, not by face value, not the fact that you are a fanboy of this guy, or not the fact that you think he's some sort of beacon of hope to men around the world. And again, this is where this situation gets really muddy, because he is such an inspiration to a lot of people. It's very easy for others to look the other way as a result of that. So by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. That is all that I have for you for this matter. There's not really much to talk about, because this is all that we have. He was in jail. He got locked up again, got released, and we don't know what's going to come forward out of this. Are they going to extradite him to the United Kingdom? Will the Romanians continue to try and prosecute him when there's really nothing there to prosecute? Only time will tell. But for now, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also be on the lookout for my video release today with why casuals think Mike Tyson will beat Jake Paul, because that's another interesting conversation in of itself. I honestly think that many people think Jake Paul can beat many people think that Mike Tyson can beat Jake Paul because they're looking at Mike Tyson as the 1980s Mike Tyson that was fierce and extremely competitive and tough and still had that speed and knockout power, while also looking at the Jake Paul that was in the Disney Channel. These are not the same people. So that's the importance of that particular video, which I will release today. I'll see you guys soon. Like and subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend. Inshallah, I'll see you guys once again.